Today we are going to have shares called away from us on a trade that we did back on January the 27th. It was a deep in the money covered call. The reason I'm doing deep in the money covered calls right now is because I just don't trust this market. So I'm trying to get into trades that give me the most room in case of a pullback. I was having difficulties finding trades. We're going to talk a little bit about the chart, and I went into this trade, but I was having difficulties finding a trade that I liked. So I took a little bit of a chance on it. Not too bad, but just a little bit of a chance. I was coming into a Friday, and this was the Friday right here on 127, and so I wanted to get into some trades Friday so I could get weekend time decay on my calls. As you can tell from this chart, if you're going to sell a call, or if you're going to sell a cash secured put, for those of you who have studied my swing trading, and these are actually my swing trading charts, for those of you who have studied those, you can tell this is not really a great area to be in a trade if you don't want it to pull back, which ideally I didn't really want this to pull back. Sideways is fine, but I didn't want it to pull back. So here I am pushing this second deviation here, up in the second deviation here. I'm way away from this midline. I'm way away from my wave here. Here, you can tell that the overall trend is down. It had started back up here, but it really had not cleared, or it had just cleared this resistance. It was just starting to get some of these other moving averages going to the plus side. They'd crossed here, but they had not crossed this one yet. So ideally, from a swing trade standpoint, trying to go long here was not necessarily a great decision. Like I said, I was having trouble finding a good trade that I like, which is why I went ahead and took this one. And it did end up working out, but keep in mind, I sold my covered call down here. Exercising has many physical. Sorry about that. Alexa decided she wanted to talk to me in the middle of my YouTube video. That happens sometimes. But as I was saying, I sold the covered call. It was deep in the money, way down here at 24. And what I was looking at when I picked this strike, two things. One is what kind of return could I get and going down as far as I could, and the other, what kind of support would I have? And I had these, I had support here coming in. I had support on each of these lines potentially. This one at the time was still below the 124, but as you can tell, it was contracting and moving up. And then over here, I had support through all of these moving averages, none of which held. They all dropped through them, but that was okay because, again, these are areas that I really felt that I might get support. So this should be fairly safe. Dropping down right into this area made me a little nervous. Another thing that made me a little nervous is I had oil strangles on in addition to this, and this is XOP, so I was really tripling up on my oil trades, and that's one thing I'd said when I took this trade is if you're trading the oil strangles, you may not want to take this trade, but if you're not trading strangles, then this is something that you could have looked at doing. The MACD was fine. The RSI was a little high on the 2 and the 5, but it was okay on the 14. Wasn't too bad there. So I can't really be surprised I got the pullback. I am glad that I had gone far enough down with my covered call in order to not have to make any adjustments on this trade. Let's take a look at the trade itself. This was my trade sheet. Entered it on 127. This was the calculation I used to decide whether or not I wanted this trade. Typically, I like to have the potential for about a 10% annualized return. Best I could find this particular day was an 8.97. It was below what I would like to have had. But a lot of times when I stack my trades, because it's at an expiration of 2/17, I look at what kind of income I'll be bringing in that week. So I'll make decisions based on that. Truthfully, this is a little bit of a weak week for me as far as income. I wasn't able to get a lot of the trades that I wanted. But that's okay. Now, one thing you'll notice here is my annualized gain here is 8.97, and I actually am showing an 11.01. The reason is, in this calculation, I'm using this number as my risk. But on my actual trade sheet, I'm using the amount of my buying power that it used up. It only used up 10,000 in buying power. Honestly, you could go lower on this number from a risk standpoint because XOP wasn't going to go to zero. So I used 10,000 because that's how much buying power was used, as opposed to this risk number that I used in this calculation before I entered the trade. Some shares were called away. 217. I was hoping to get early assignment, which would have made my annualized return higher, and I could have entered another trade. That doesn't always happen on these deep in the money covered calls. Even if there are dividends out there, it doesn't always happen because a lot of times they're already figured into it. So many times you'll have to keep them to expiration. Overall, I was in the trade 21 days, got an 11% annualized return. Entering them here, I like to see 10 to 15. Minimum of 10. I'd actually like to say about 15, but minimum of 10. And I could have done that, because you can see my formula was telling me, with it traded at 144, it was telling me I should have gone to about a 136 strike, which would have given me a lot higher annualized return. I went with the 124. I went way deeper in the money, and as you can see from the chart, if I had gone with the 136. I would have broken through that, and I would have had to adjust this trade. So 136 is right here. So I would have had to make some adjustments, and today, if I still had it, I would have had to roll it or close it or something, but I would have a loss. Whereas right now, the way it closed out, I had a gain. We're doing a lot of the deep in the money ones right now just because I don't trust the stock market, in addition to our strangles and our collars and our other trades. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like the video, please go ahead and like it, subscribe to the channel. Comments are always great. Apologize for the interruptions in the video today. I didn't do a good job taking everything out of my office before I started recording. I hope it didn't interrupt you too much. Anyway, thanks for the time.